Friends and professionals, welcome back to another live Modern Lending Podcast, Season 4. I'm your host, Alec Hansen. Today, we have been continuing down the path of the road to $100 million. Many of you know that I'm training an elite group of originators who want to get personally to $100 million. And I figured what better way to complement that than to actually bring on the podcast originators who have accomplished that insane goal of funding $100 million in a year. Today, Justin Perry's with me from Portsmouth, New Hampshire. His story is going to rock you a little bit. I like this. We've had some mega originators doing 800 units plus, crazy team structures. But with Justin, we're going to do something different this time. So Justin closed 397 units. It's not a small number, man. 160 million. This guy's actually putting in the work, but his story is going to surprise you and shock you. So let's bring him on. Justin, what's up? Welcome, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me, Alec. I love what you're doing.
Thanks for having me, dude. I am so stoked to be having this conversation with you today. So before we get into the meat here, 397 units, 160 million. Congratulations, by the way. That's a ton of impacted humans. That's really amazing work. And so I want to get into the current, but you got to give the story of how you found lending. How did you get into mortgage lending? We got to start there. We got to get the origin story here.
That's a good question. I like to start with found lending because I found lending first. I was in the business school at University of New Hampshire, small school out here in a small state. And towards my senior year, there's an opportunity. The school partnered with a local commercial lending and leasing company. And it was as a paid internship. I'm like, this is great. Checks two boxes. I need both those things. I need money. I need an internship. And I soon found myself making like 100 cold calls a day, looking for folks who need leasing or financing on, let's say, CNC milling machines, agricultural equipment for their farms out in the Midwest. So you're just dialing everywhere, right? And I'm Googling on the fly, what is a CNC milling machine? I don't even know what I'm talking to this guy about, and it's 300 grand and I'm going to finance it. One of our funnest campaigns. Remember when Subway they came out with the toasted sub?
Oh, absolutely.
It was revolutionary. Well, those toasters cost like 30 grand. So we'd call on franchisees to lease and finance the toasters for their Subway, all kinds of things. If you own a business and it could be bought or leased, we would do it. And I started to graduate. They gave me a job offer. I thought it was fun. I love the financing part of it, but you're never going to get referrals. You're never going to meet your customers. It didn't seem like a sustainable business. It was a grind, right? It's a day one of the month. You're back to zero. How many leads and apps can you get? And I learned a lot. I had a couple friends who were older than me who were in the real estate game, and I wanted to try mortgages. So when I graduated, I got a job at a bank. And I still think that that's a great way for new LOs who want to get into retail and learn the ropes. Start a bank. You'll learn from processing, right, to shaking hands and talking to customers, to taking 1003s, to even actually at that time at the bank, you funded your own loans. You did the closing as the loan officer. But it was salaried and it was rigid. It was like, sir, can I go to the bathroom, please? And go across the street to Dunkin' Donuts. Have you made your dials yet? The manager would check his report. And there was a bunch of loan officers around. There was like a Countrywide down the street, and I could see them coming and going. And probably I just assumed they're going to meet customers and go to network. I'm like, that's the way I want to do it.
Wait, so hold on. When was this? When were you what year?
Oh, great question. So this is the perfect time to get in the mortgage industry. It was 2006.
Perfect.
So like we were at the top of the peak, not knowing what was on the other end. So I was 23 at the time. And I remember I was working at the bank, living with some buddies. And there's a mortgage office in downtown Portsmouth, a small little family-owned brokerage. And you managed branches before. You probably never had this happen to you. I walked in. We're actually going to the bar to watch Saturday football. I saw someone sitting there, and I walked in and asked if they were hiring. He kind of looked at me like, I guess we're always hiring, but what are you looking to do? And I'll never forget it. I talked to this guy for 5 hours. I went in, it was lunchtime. I came out, it was dark out. And 2 hours in, he sort of showed me, he's like, I've been looking for someone to mentor. And if you do as I do, and as I say, you won't fail. You can make the leap from salary, 30K, 40K at the bank, to 100% commission if you just do these things. And I'll never forget it. So it was about a year after college, I got into the true retail lending as a correspondent broker at that time.
And that was 2006 or 2007 when that happened.
2006, yeah.
And so how was the first couple of years? What did he have you doing? What was origination look like? What was your strategy?
It was horrible. He watched me flounder. He said, he was a networking guru, right? But he gave me just enough to let me steer my ship a little rudderless, but pointed me in the right direction, had me go into Chamber of Commerce after hours events almost 3 times a week. If there was a chamber that was within an hour, you go to it. He got me into a BNI group. I'm still in that BNI group. I've been there for 15 years as a founding member of BNI group. All the networking things. He also let me drive to Western Mass, 2.5 hours away to take an application on a $50,000 home equity line that didn't close. So that was a gigantic waste of time. He said, I knew it was, but you need to do these things to kind of cut your teeth and learn. And at the time, my overhead, I had no kids, wasn't married yet. It was, can I split rent 3 ways with my buddies? And can I go out and go to the bar once in a while and have fun with my friends? And that was a simpler time, So it was like, I think my volume back then, my goal was to do 3 loans a month. Can you do 3 loans a month, right? Can you close 3? I even tell new originators that your goal should be to close 3 loans a month, new in the industry. I tell you what, get 4. I'll spot you 1, so you can lose 1. All right, so if you bring in 4, one a week, if you can get 1 loan a week, you can lose 1 every month. And you'll still close 3. And if your average loan size is about $350,000, you're going to do over $10 million. And in your first year, it's going to feel like a real job. It almost didn't, though. I remember 6 months in, I come in, I had like 3 loans to work on. And I said, I'm thinking about getting a job. He goes, really? Doing what? I said, maybe bartending on weekends. He goes, really? Why would you do that? I don't even know if this is a 9 to 5 for me, right? I have like 3 loans to work on. He goes, you can do that. You get another job. I have to let you go. I said, why would you do that? Because how many hours are you going to spend bartending? I was like, well, this is 10 hours, 8 hours. If you poured those hours into networking and letting everyone know what you do and getting out there and asking for referrals and building relationships, you will go so much farther than tending bar and making some extra cash tips on the weekend. And I'll never forget, it's probably the best advice I got in year 1 was to just go all in. And I needed to hear that because 2007 and 2008 were right around the corner. Little did I know.
Yeah. So what happened to your business in those years?
It was fine because I was starting at nothing, right? So if my goal was to do like 10 million and then do 15 million, and I at the time I had some friends down in Massachusetts, and I early on learned to diversify my business out of where I lived, right? I'm in a small town in New Hampshire. It's right on the ocean, very affluent town, but everyone comes here. Every realtor wants to sell homes here. Every mortgage lender wants to do loans here. And there's just not enough for everyone in this tiny zip code. But Massachusetts, 20 miles south of us, is a huge state with a huge population and really expensive homes. Just over the bridge from our office is Maine, the second home capital of New England. It's so many great areas in Maine. So I was going to Chamber of Commerce events in Maine and Massachusetts. I was calling on colleagues and friends that I knew in each state and building connections way outside of my town, right? So I wasn't so concentrated.
Yeah. Are you talking to realtors at all yet? Or are you still Chamber of Commerce business networking stuff?
Yeah, realtors too.
Okay.
I'll never forget it. Every Thursday we did power hour. You know how we did power hour back then? We each grabbed the homes and land. And every town probably has their version of it. Yeah. We call homes and land, and you could, for an hour, you had to make dials. And you actually bought us all a bell. You ring a bell when you got a coffee appointment, and you could just flip through the book to get phone numbers. There's no surfing the internet. It's just 1 hour of cold calling to get in front of realtors. And I know a lot of realtors love the old adage of walking into an office as the cold call. And it works. For me, I never liked that because I didn't like when people did it to me. I didn't feel like it was respecting their time. So I would just cold call them and ask them, can I have 15 minutes of your time tomorrow? I want to bring you a coffee, right? I want to just stop by and say hello. Because I know when like mortgage insurance reps and our reps show up, they're usually in the lobby already and they never told me they're coming. And I'm like, dude, if you just told me you were coming, I would have coffee with you for sure. Because I love drinking coffee and I've always got 15 minutes. But if you just show up, it doesn't show me that maybe you respect my time as much as you think. And I know that you mean well. So I would set up coffee meetings with realtors, and we try to get one a day, and with that, with Chamber of Commerce and with BNI, I got some traction, and, the numbers and the volume started to go up.
So let me take everyone on a little tangent for a second, Justin, because I did a training this morning on this, and I really want to hit this comment for people that are listening. Prospect agents the way you want to be prospected. And to hear Justin's story is so different than mine, because I'm terrified of cold calling, and I don't like it when people cold call me, because I get the impression of, you don't have permission to call me. Like, we're not buddies. Don't call me. But hysterically, when I would go out on open houses or broker previews, I would never want to bug them if they had a client there. That would be inappropriate. But if they're just sitting in the open house alone, or they're sitting in a broker preview alone, I felt like I would not mind coming up and being introduced to somebody and just saying, hey, I'm Alec. I'm with Loan Depot, and nice to meet you. And our two strategies, like, I attracted the people that respected my methods. And you could tell, Justin, just from your story, like, you obviously, the people that respected your method responded, got appointments, got business. And that just is a great testament to, like, prospect agents the way you would want to be prospected. Because we're all salespeople. We all want to be sold. We all want people to, we love it. So that's
early on too, right? That's when you're starting from zero. I remember, when you were talking to Barrett the other day, he admits that he was doing things then that he didn't do now. So as the game got a little more polished and refined, picking up a homes and landing, just cold calling I realized was not the best approach. There's easier ways to get a even lukewarm introduction via other realtors in the office. Hey, is there someone here who I can educate? Someone I can help, right? Someone I can help get more referrals from their clients, close more deals, get offers accepted, right? There are ways to get introductions to realtors that are probably a lot better than just picking up a homes and land, but you got to start somewhere.
Earn it. Yeah, you got to earn it somewhere, man. You got to pay the price, and that obviously is a method to do it.
And it's a lot of work, right?
100%, dude. Let me fast forward here. So you closed an insane amount of loans, 300. I'm going to round up 400 closings in a year is a big freaking number. It's a lot of families, a lot of files, a lot of people. And then what shocks people, especially myself and others, when you hear this, was when we start talking about your team. So who's on your team and who helps you fund the 400 units a year?
So I don't have any direct team members. It's hard for me to say that because it obviously takes a team. We have the best closing department. I have the best processor in the game, but I know what you're asking. And the answer is, I don't have an assistant. I don't have a junior LO. It is just me. There's nobody but my processor, and the processor is one I was given from a pool. This wasn't like you are anointed the great one because you did 100 million. Now you get this like super ops team, and you have this special process of getting loans through that nobody has. I have share my processor with, Gen Pop, if you will. And, but you've got to be efficient. I wouldn't necessarily preach that someone try to do this. You've got to be extremely efficient, but it is just me. And you and I had laughed earlier. I've been told from several people in upper management that they've gotten reached out to and said, I don't believe this guy.
He's full of shit. There's no way he's closing 400 units with himself and a processor and no PA, no junior. But I want you to get into it, Justin, because it's a great inspirational message. And I'll tell you why I really want to dig into this. So many originators have a limiting belief that I need such and such assistants, PAs, whatever, to get to the next level. And by the way, they can get you to the next level. They're not mutually exclusive. Like the excuse that I can't do great volume without a huge team is a lie. And so Barrett's hanging out with us. By the way, if you have not watched, go to Barrett's page right now, or go to Barrett's Facebook later and watch him throw the first pitch out at the Mets game. It was incredibly cool, Barrett. I was cheering on the side. It was so fun to watch. He posted that today. So Justin, first of all, how do you do it is the question. Like, how do you do it? How did you scale to this level? How do you do it without PAs? Give some insight into your process.
Yeah, so I think it has a little bit to do with starting 15 years ago when it was one loan at a time. the files would go out paper with stickies, would sign here and highlight it. They would come back with the docs that smelled like cigarettes and they had like coffee stains on them, right? And that's a lot of work. And as the technology evolved, a lot of that got automated, and I find myself now, fast forward to current day, when I ask loan officers why they need an assistant or what they have their assistant do. I'm never one to tell someone they can or can't have an assistant. If you want one, if you want two, you can have three. But what are they going to do? And a lot of the things that a typical assistant does, I've always been doing, and you can do it. They order my appraisals. I'm like, oh, that's a button you click. Right? Or they get my fee sheets. I'm like, that's like a template I send. There's 10 seconds, there's 15 seconds. I'm not saying that that's not time that I wouldn't mind having back, but there's so many golden nuggets that a lot of people give up and have an assistant do. Like I was alluding to earlier, there's little things like when you're putting in the details of the transaction, entering the realtors. I might be typing in that listing agent's name that this is generally an assistant's task, right, to set up the file. And I love seeing, oh my gosh, Laura is a listing agent on this. I wonder how her daughter's graduation went last week. I saw her on Facebook. I'm going to call her right now, right? Or the post-closing stuff that they do. All those little things, for me, is when the light bulbs go off. I say, I got to call this guy. I got to see how they're doing on this. Or I'm going to craft this email differently than an assistant would because I know this person. I know where their kids go to school, or I know maybe they lost a loved one recently, and I'm going to probably be a little more tactful in how I deliver this message to them. And again, it's not for everyone, but I kind of use it instead of as a crutch. I use it to grow my business and to deepen the relationships with the clients. And we've got some pretty good systems. And this is not to be an advertisement for Loan Depot in any way, but I'm sure other lenders have great systems too. I just have a hard time I can't find a 9 to 5 within what I do to have someone else do it. And that's not to say that maybe some up and coming stud wants to be a junior LO, reach out, because there is something I'm looking for as we get to wherever we are in COVID now, and we're going to more events and hosting more events and doing more social things. So it's not that I don't want to necessarily at some point have a team. But if you're efficient and you have templates and things in place, you can get a lot done by yourself.
It's funny. I'll joke with our loan officers about what do you do from 8 to 5? Just a normal 8 hour, just a normal work day. And it's uncomfortable to picture myself just sitting behind somebody from 8 to 5. I'm just going to audit your day. I'm going to audit the day. I'm going to sit behind you from 8 to 5. And by the way, that doesn't mean you can't have moments of the day when you need to take a walk, or, I'm not going to follow you into the restroom, but I just want to see how you operate. Like how amount of effort are you putting out to originate or to work on your business? And you and I all know, and everyone knows, that there's just dead time in people's days typically when we're not productive, and we could be, but we're just not. And there's reasons, excuses, valid, invalid. It doesn't really matter. There's productive time and there's not productive time. And so I just hearing you talk about how you close 400 loans with a processor, and just the ownership you have of your experience is just fantastic. So I want to go a little deeper on the processor. What does your processor do?
She is like the backbone of all that the loans go through, right?
Yep.
I'm still taking every loan, right? So every loan is generally done online. I prefer them to do it online. Right, when there's an error, I don't want to take it a personal touch away. I just think that there's too many times where a social security is wrong, a date of birth's wrong. When they entered it online, right, that's on them. It takes them 10 minutes. You enter it online, then I'm going to call you, right? We have a conversation on the phone. I'm going to call you, Alec, to make sure what you entered is what you meant it to be. And we can make changes to it. Just give me the nuts and bolts of your file. So I'm going to take the application. I'm going to go over it with them over the phone. I'm going to request all the docs, because why would I put it on someone else to request the docs when I just talked to Alec and I know exactly what I need, because he just gave me his story, right? I know that he has a situation where he has K1s or he's got a TN visa. I have all that data. I can go into our consumer portal and request the docs in 100%. Seconds.
Yep.
Enter the fees from the attorney, and I walk away.
Okay.
That's the part that took a long time to get to, right? I've done 100% complete application. Every document has been requested. It hasn't been received yet necessarily, right? By the time it goes to processing or sent to the processor. Yep. I'm on to the next loan. And that's kind of the trust fall exercise I think most people aren't willing to have. They handhold it all the way, and did you send this? And then a paid bank statement comes through, just one out of two. And they analyze it, and then they send more requests. You've got to let go, right? We've got great operations here, and you've got to take a really, really, really good file. That's on you. You got to know your guidelines, right? You shouldn't be doing this if you're not going to take the guidelines seriously and know your product. You have to know them cold. Request the proper docs, and then it goes to the processor. And my processor's a rock star. Like I struggle with even like explaining what she does, because I don't want too many lawyers to be like, "Oh, I want my processor to do that," because she is relentless. And at first, I never forget when I first started working with her, she asked a client on Monday for docs at like 9. She asked for them again at 2. I was like, wow, that's aggressive. And then as I'm saying, I go, you know what? Keep it up. Keep doing that. Because if I'm doing a transaction with someone, I'm busy and things are going to fall through the cracks. I want you to hound me so that the ball is always in your court. If I owe you something, ask for it. And I want to get it to you. So if I don't, ask me again, because I have good intentions, but I probably forgot. So she's relentless, and I give her that permission to be relentless with clients, to ask them for docs, so they can never come back and say, you didn't tell us, or you guys dropped the ball here, right?
100%.
But you got to walk away. You can't take crap files. Well, it's simple, but not easy, right? That's the old.
So where does the bulk of your business come from right now?
So I sort of like in expanding my geographic location, I tried to have eggs in a bunch of different baskets, right? I really lean on past customers. One of the things I do, right? If it's in my calendar, it's generally a rock that's not going to move. Second Tuesday of every month at 9 o'clock, my family's in bed. I do post follow-up emails. And I asked them, how'd the transaction go? I set lofty expectations when we started. Did I meet them? Any questions go unanswered? And then I asked them at the end, is there anyone else that you know that would like the same experience you just had? And then as that conversation goes back and forth, I then ask them for a review on Google or Zillow. If you look me up, you'll see I've got a ton on both. And that wasn't by luck. I spent a ton of time curating, and not curating, that's the wrong word, but asking for reviews. Clients aren't going to leave them if you don't ask for them, right? And that's really good. My past clients, I kind of cultivate that there. I've been, like I said, in B&I for 15 years.
Yep.
Most people give up. It's like the adage where they stop digging for gold when they're like 1 foot away from strike. I've been in that group for 15 years. That means that the insurance person, the financial advisor, that seat's turned over like 10 times. So I'm building my CRM, but also still showing up every week to a great group of folks. In fact, this is a good story or testament to sticking with any kind of network. And I'm not going to pitch B&I, but I showed up my first week, like, perfect. I've got a realtor here. She's in a great town. She's in a Keller Williams office. This is going to be great. She gave me her name. She goes, how long have you been doing this? I said, about 1 month.
Yes.
How long have you been doing this? She goes, about 1 week. It's like,
yes.
Well, we got work to do. We've got work to do. And you know what? She's still in the group. And in fact, we put a house under contract this morning. I locked the loan for one of her clients. Over 15 years. We didn't do a deal together for like 18 months. Like, you got to be consistent. You got to show up every week, and you got to stick it out, right? Some things are just not going to be fruitful in the first 6 months, a year, 2 years. You really got to stick it out to make them work. So it's my past clients. It's the networking things that I do.
Wait, hold on. Before you get to networking, I want to go deeper on past clients. So one of your strategies is once a month, you send emails at night on Tuesday to your existing closings, right? Last month's closings, checking in. What else do you do to cultivate business from your past customers? Do you have a call schedule? Do you have check-ins? What do you do?
Yeah, I do. So I do send like thank you gifts. Like, so at the end of the year, it's not like a Christmas, try to get ahead of the whole Christmas thing. Last year I did Loan Depot Yetis with a nice custom card. Nice. I don't do any spammy email. I cringe as soon as I see it go out. Yeah, I'll do like the birthday one just to kind of stay in front of them, but nothing pre-canned. If I send an email to my clients, which I do often, and I urge all the people in my office to do this, and in other offices if they want a tip, I'll go into just a blank template, right? Don't send the HTML super produced with graphics. Just go into a blank template, right? And send them a message like you're speaking to them, something that's timely, right? It's timestamped. It's an event that happened yesterday, that the tax code changed, or do you have a copy of your 1098, or just something that's timely and relevant, and you're generally going to get a ton of wow, thank yous. Or I don't even ask for a referral. Try to mix in to just truly being genuinely helpful, right? I try not to ask for referrals very often, but you have to ask for referrals. Let's face it. You're missing the boat if you don't hit them over the head at some point and say, oh, and by the way, my business is built on referrals. But I check in with just relevant updates. And then, of course, over the last few years, we were just blessed, right? It was a gift that I refinanced everybody, but not a lot of people did that. And again, I told my team, HTML emails aren't going to work. Assuming they read the news is not going to work. Assuming they're going to call you. It's one by one, loan by loan. Alec, this is where you are now. I've got an opportunity for you. Here's where we can drop you down to, depending on the state, right? There's no cost and there's no catch. It's easy, but I tell them I'm going to do this before they close. So this is what I'm doing right now, right? No one loves that they're locking in, say, 6% right now. They're pissed, right? They thought that rates were at 4 or 5, and now they're hearing they're 6 and they're under contract. But I remind them, we're going to watch rates for you. And I promise you, I'm going to alert you anytime there's an opportunity to refinance. Most people think that's lip service.
Yeah, they do.
And they're shocked. They say, you told me you were going to do this. I'm really impressed and shocked that you followed up and you actually did this. And it's only like, it's self-serving. We want to keep you as a client. We're looking to generate business, but I'm always going to follow up with them, and I'm never going to sell them. I'm going to educate them on their opportunities. If you can acknowledge you saw the opportunity and you don't want to take advantage of it, there's plenty of other people out there that I'm going to move on to, but I need you to see that this was here. So you didn't say you missed out and I didn't do my job and present the opportunity to you, right? So I'm always following up with them with opportunities.
So moving from that,
yeah.
Go ahead. Finish your comment.
I love working with financial advisors. You can be a really big asset to them. So I think sometimes people go about it the wrong way. Like, let's have coffee. I'd love you to send me referrals. And a lot of their mindsets are, I don't really care who people use, right? Or maybe my company does mortgages too. So there's 2 ways to go with that. How do they do? How's your firm do with mortgage? How's it serviced? Oh, it's actually pretty bad. I don't refer them for that reason.
Exactly.
Right?
I didn't want to talk to you.
So it's most important that you keep their assets under management. You don't want to screw it up by sending them to the mortgage office that there's no commission in it for you. So why would you risk that relationship by having them do a mortgage through your firm that you say doesn't do a great job? Maybe they do.
Yeah.
But the other side of that is they're going to get a mortgage somewhere. And a lot of these people, if they have a financial advisor, they're probably looking at a jumbo loan. Well, what if they go to Chase? Because we lose loans to big banks all the time. I'll be the first to admit that to people because they don't care about the mortgage. They want the assets. Right, Alex? So if you're a financial advisor, you really, really should care where your client goes and finds a mortgage. Because if they find the right bank, they're going to get a blank check for here. What rate do you want, Alex? Could you move $2 million? That's it. We can't manage your money if we wanted to. We have no banking products that's going to interfere with what you're doing to manage this person's wealth. And oh, by the way, I have to answer to you. I have to see you in person at these networking groups where our kids play on the same soccer teams. I have to see you on Sundays. So there's a lot of accountability there. I can't afford to screw it up like their mortgage department might. Like, sorry, we screwed this one up. I mean, there's not much you can do about it. So give me the accountability. I love it. Put pressure on me to do a great job. And I promise I will, that this person, when they say this went well, I'm going to ask them to thank not me, but you for making that referral. And if they truly mean it, send that person a friend. Send them a referral. If you think that this went so well that you wouldn't have gotten this service anywhere else, go thank your financial advisor and don't just tell them. Bring a friend to them. Bring them a referral to show them how much you appreciate them.
So let me ask you, how do you break into financial advisors? It's hard. You call them the same way you used to call realtors and ask for 15 minutes? What do you do?
No, not anymore. There's ways to, every transaction you do, right, you're going to get the asset statements. You generally don't need them, but asking for it is a great way to find out who their financial advisor is. And, sometimes it's a little more sizzle than it is steak. You say something like, wow, this person's really looking out for you. I'm not one to just peer into your financials, but they got you in a lot of low cost. And it looks like they're really doing a good job for you. Do you mind if I call this guy? This seems like someone who I think does a great job for his clients. And I appreciate what he's doing here. I can kind of see his strategy. And it's someone I'd really like to work with. Would you mind introducing me? Nice. Versus calling them and say, hey, I work with Sally. Can we have coffee?
I'm a lender on the deal. Yeah.
it's a similar thing because you can only have so many. When people assume like someone does say 100 million, how many realtors do they work with? I bet you they think it's like 100, right?
Yeah,
How many financial advisors do they have? 50. You
Yeah.
know what? If I had like 5 to 10 financial advisors that really thought of me on a regular basis, that's all you need. That's really all you need. So I'm not looking to call one a week, but I am looking to sit down and meet with at least 2 to 3 people face to face every week. You mix up what sort of field that is.
So I want to talk about breakthroughs for a minute, Justin. I want to hear some more of your story. You know, if you're from the kid who was clawing up 15 million, you know, trying to break through. What did you have any moments where either you won an account, you won an opportunity, something happened in your business that really shifted the trajectory of it? And what was that? What happened?
Sure. So you're always trying to pick off referral sources or get to one more realtor, one more financial planner, get these meetings. And at some point, you've only got so much bandwidth and your book is only so big and who you know and who you can get in front of you. I'll never forget the time. And I hope he's watching right now. He said he was going to. This is good. My buddy Matt, he's in my BNI group now, and he shows up and he used to work for an attorney, and I'm super loyal, right? I was at Mortgage Master for 12 years. Loan Depot bought Mortgage Master, so I haven't made a move since like the first mortgage broker shop I was at when I started. And I'm super loyal to who I use too. And I had this attorney doing all my closings, and this guy who used to work for him shows up to my BNI group, and I'm thinking, how is this going to work? I can't now send you business. You used to work for the guy who I send all my business to. And at the meeting, we both sat down and realized, you know what? Why don't we go build some new business? He was in-house at a real estate office as the manager of their in-house title company.
Okay.
I'm like, well, that's pretty awesome. What if we meet all those realtors and every deal that comes from those realtors, I can then get to you? Because you can't get business as a title company unless the mortgage guy generally finds it for you.
Yep.
So I started to find ways like that. Instead of going out and picking off maybe like one connection at a time, find people like a great realtor or a title company who are looking for the same things. Who do you guys know? Let me go make those connections. You just put me on an email. The rest is up to me. If you give me an at bat and I can get in with this realtor and that realtor, every deal that comes from that and every subsequent refinance and referral from them comes to your title company. And then you do the same thing. Another kind of a overlooked opportunity is transaction coordinators.
Yeah, agreed. Right,
They're
the first ones to know what's going on.
And they want the same thing you do. Not the ones that are in-house, right? Some work for the real estate company.
Yeah,
but a lot of them are just guns for hire. They want to work with every real estate company, just like we do. So I had an epiphany one time. I'm like, this person's looking for the same pool of people that I am. Like, hey, I can, and you can't lie, right? You got to back it up. I said, look, I have 3 realtors right now I could refer to you because they're a hot mess and they need a transaction coordinator. Are you open to that? They're like, yeah. I'm like, why don't the 2 of us work smarter and together this year, and let's try to get each other some business. If you see a realtor, because they know what I bring to the table, right?
Yes.
And the communication that I bring, I'm going to make their job easier, right? We have automatic updates that go out. They know exactly where the file is. And I can make their job easier if I'm working on the finance side. So introduce me to your realtors. And along the way, I'm going to send you every realtor that doesn't realize how much help a transactional coordinator might be able to bring to the picture, right? So now you're having people hunt and gather with you, and you can pick off so much more than you could alone, and it's just like you said before too, you want to sell to people how you want to be sold. I heard you talking on one of your other podcasts too about listing agents, and it got me thinking about like something I do a little bit different, because everyone wants to go after listing agents, right? It's not like a secret. Most people don't. They say they're going to, but then they don't, right? But how do they do it? I almost guarantee you it's the pre-can. Well, I say, hey, if I do a good job in this transaction, will you have coffee with me after? Right? That's what they're going to say. So instead, when I start a file, I just reach out to them, introduce myself, and say, hey, I'm going to communicate with you throughout the process. I know you're busy. Do you have an assistant? Do you have a transaction coordinator that you want me to include on all these communications? Because I don't want to flood you with follow-ups and things like that. They're usually blown away by that little ask at the beginning.
Great nugget.
And then at the end, I still haven't asked them for anything. I say, hey, you were awesome to work with. Your team was great. You guys were on top of it. Where can I leave you a review? Where would it be most impactful for me to leave you a review? I can't do it on Zillow because it knows I'm the mortgage guy and you're the realtor. Use Google reviews. I hope they don't. because then I can set them up with a Google page. You don't use Google. Oh my God, we got to set you up with a Google business page. Look at mine. Can we do a Zoom next week and I'm going to set you up with a Google business page and I'll leave you your first review? I still haven't asked them for anything, right? I still haven't asked them. I'm just giving them.
You're playing chess, bro. This is genius.
Well, this is like the years and years of getting burned, right? You learn.
Yeah. This is the pearl after
it took 15 years.
Yes. Oh, that is so good, man. That is so good. And by the way, it's good in all the right ways. It's not manipulative. You're not trying to get something out of them. You're not trying to trick them into a meeting. You're really trying to put them into the right place they probably should be, which is Google Business Reviews. Is like I coach that all day long. It's a no-brainer. You got to be there. It's the biggest search engine in the world, dude. So I want to hear it from you. Like, what kind of responses do you get from people with that strategy?
They love it. So a great way to show them too is if you can get them on a Zoom, and I could show them mine, but then I just feel like you're kind of showboating. So show them a competitor's. Like, all right, let's Google what's your favorite town to sell in? All right, let's Google 123 any street realtor in Main Street, USA, right? And then they'll see the top people that come up in their business page.
Yeah.
And they're like, right? I'm like, look, see, this it's so simple. It's free, right? Well, I don't know how to do that. It seems complicated. Let's do it right now. Let's do it right now with you in front of me, right? If they mail you like a card, you have to get a code on it to verify it's you, and you do it for them. I love doing that stuff, right?
Dude,
part of why I do have no assistant is because those little techie things are like my favorite things to do. So it's actually something I enjoy doing, and it's self-serving, and that it helps the listing agent. And then I like to think that every time that they get a review on Google, they're like, geez, I remember that kid that one time set me up with this page a long time ago. I'm glad he did that. So it's just a little tweak, right? Those are the little differences between, hey, do a good job listing agent, ask them for coffee. Oh, everyone's going to ask them for that, right? Do it a little bit differently, and I think you can get way better results.
So bright, yeah. Bruce is Google Business, great one. Arcliff is like fire. Yeah, this is that nugget was good for me too, man. Justin, what a fun strategy that's done in the right way.
Thanks.
Okay, so everyone's gonna want to know this. What's a day in the life look like? Because they're still gonna be stuck on how do you do 400 loans with no assistant, and so what is a day in the life? When do you start work? When do you get off work? What's it all like?
Yeah. It's not sexy. But there's no fluff, right? Like when you said, I love to peek over someone's shoulder, right? And you can just see them start to get cold sweats. Like, oh God, my boss is going to watch what I actually do from 8 to 5 or whatever it might be. I'd love to have you do that, right? Because there's no time for fluff in there. It's usually wake up. Kids are young. I think they're a little younger than yours, and they get super early. My son's up at like 4:30, and I try to meet him somewhere in the middle. But if I've got stuff in the middle of the day, I go to the gym early, hit like a 6 o'clock class at the local CrossFit gym, and come back at 7 o'clock, have breakfast with the kids, get into school, and that's it. It's a rigid. This is a work day. There is no, hey, I'm going to run to Target and do this thing. Hey, I'm going to go to hang out with some buddies. I mean, don't get me wrong. You got to have some fun too, but
yeah,
it's a true 8 to 5. And then, but that's it. I'm at all my kids' sports events. I really don't miss much of anything. I don't work crazy hours that people think I work. Part of that is I go back on, everyone's in bed by 8:30. So sort of like my magic hour of getting stuff done is at like 8:30 to 10 at night, really clean up from the day and set the tone for the next day. That's when all like the follow-up that I do. But people don't even treat it like a 9 to 5 anymore, Alec. Like when I first got into it, they did. Right. It was like suits and ties and in the office. And it was now I think people have gotten so out of working a 9 to 5 that it's so easy to outwork your competition. Like, how lucky are we, right?
So, dude, like this is my story, and I can tell you had a similar one in 2003 when I started. One of the biggest refi booms of all time was happening, and it felt like coming into the business in 2020. Rates without COVID. So rates were insane, and I showed up to the office I transferred to a new office that was opening. I show up at 8:15. I got my Dickies on, I got my suit on, I'm ready to go, and no one's there. No one's there. And it says on the door, office 8:15 to 5:15. That was Countrywide's hours. I'm like, no one was here. And I remember people didn't roll in until like 10:30. And then at like 3 o'clock, the office would empty out again. And I'd be like, what is happening? Like, what? I'm going to just dominate everybody if this is how the work ethic is in our industry. And you're right. Right now, after 2 years, right, we've had it easy, and we worked hard for it. We fought for it. But I mean, loans came easy is a better way to say it.
Yeah.
The harder you work, the more you got. But now it's going to be back to the real professionals' time to show up. It is. I mean, right now it's like, you ready to go? You ready to work? You ready to put in the hours? Because you got to do it now. And everyone's like, oh, this is hard. And they're going to quit. They're not going to make it. So
I think Adam Schefter one time joked about the NFL draft. Sometimes the best ability is availability. You got to be available. Like I always tell my guys, this realtor who needs his updated pre-approval that you get to like type in some keys and click send on. Do you know what they did to get to this point?
Yeah.
They drove around to 3 or 4 houses. 3 of them they knew the key people weren't even going to buy, but still had to listen to them pour over the details of each room and what they don't even like about it, only to get to you to say, hey, Justin, can you send me 2 pre-approvals for them? And to not get back to them as fast as humanly possible. And most importantly, and I love this about your podcast with Barrett the other day, answer the phone. I mean, there's people you call, right? You're like, I know this person. They're not going to answer. I'm going to call them anyways, but they're not going to answer. If you just answer your phone, even if you say, hey, I'm with the kids right now, can I call you right back? It goes a long way to show that you care, that you're available, respond to people quickly, but be a professional. I think we're losing that. And it's easy to stand out if you're willing to put in some work.
Well, so let's wrap up here with a couple questions about being a professional. I think that's going to be a good way, because I think that's the challenge right now. And Barrett's going to cue us off here with his question. He goes, ask about your product knowledge, about how your guidelines inside it out. So how far does product knowledge transfer into you being a professional? How important is it?
I get so much business. I love how he knows how I manipulate DUNLP. I mean, even like little tricks from appraisal waivers, like people think that they're like this magical thing that you might get when you might not. They don't know the rules to the game. There's an actual rule to the game of how you get appraisal waivers. That Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac shockingly published them. And if you Google appraisal waiver, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, they'll tell you what you need to put in to get them. So I spend a lot of time on the weekends. It stinks, but I do it all the time, trying to see if I can get an appraisal waiver on a property before the client even makes an offer. And I've become known for that. Now you can make your offer not even subject to like, oh, we'll bridge the gap or we'll bring this much more. No. We don't even need an appraisal. If you set this offer, no appraisal is going to be done. It's different than saying we don't care what the appraisal comes in at, because people are only human. And if it comes in $100,000 light, so just knowing your guidelines of that, the little tweak like that, sitting down with realtors and adding real value. Like, let me play with the system and see if I can get a waiver for you before you make this offer. I guarantee you it'll get accepted over others, even if they're offering more, but they need an appraisal. And every weekend I'm running those. And now realtors pass me around as the guy who runs appraisal waivers. Anyone can do it. Everyone's like, well, it's a trigger an application. I'm like, I know, it's more work. That's God forbid.
You use the Google and put some work in. Right. So what would you tell somebody, Justin, who wants to get to 100 million? What characteristics do they need to have? What focus, what activities? What would you say to somebody who sat before you and said, how do I get to 100 million?
I think it's most important to be consistent, right? Do things that you believe will get you to a better place. I truly believe in the networking groups I was signing up for, the organizations, the join local boards, even if it's nonprofits, Alec. I don't join nonprofit boards to get business, but I'll never forget the meeting I had a couple of years ago, and I looked around the room at 10 different people sitting at the table on this nonprofit. I did every one of their mortgages and some of their kids' mortgages. We don't talk mortgages, right? Just get involved, kids sports, church, CrossFit, but be consistent, right? But you've got to do it consistently, and you got to stick with it. And you've got to have excellent communication all the time, right? When someone gives you a referral, thank them. How often do you give a referral to the insurance person? And you have no idea where it went. Take a second to make a video on Vidyard and say, hey, Alec, I just spoke to Susie. It means I know you know 10 mortgage people. I don't know why you chose me, but it means the world to me that you did. And I really appreciate every referral you send me. I never take them for granted. Tell that to the person who sent you 50 referrals last year, that you don't take them for granted, right? Every time they send you a referral, thank them, right? And don't ever take it for granted. And those little things will add up, right? You're going to go from splitting beer money with your buddies 15 years ago and doing 10 million to someday you'll get to a place. Some people don't want to do 100 million. That's okay, right?
Yeah.
Whatever the number is that to them they think is unattainable, you can get there, but you've got to be consistent. You got to be a professional. And these days, I don't even think it's asking that much to say to work hard. The definition of work hard is really come down, right? Gosh, put in a 9 to 5 and work like weekends with pre-approvals.
Bro, it's facts, dude. Facts. Well, listen, Justin, I'm telling you, you're an inspiration to a lot of people. The story of how you've done what you've done with the systems that you put together, the structure of the team, which obviously you and your process are a huge team. It's impressive and it's inspiring for people that want to achieve what you've done, because it doesn't give any room for excuses. It's like, you know, Justin, in the story you guys just heard, he had no secret product. He had knowledge available to everybody on the internet. You know, he went out and outworked people, built a system, held himself to high standards of consistency. And then look what the years do, Justin, right? Like you turn back around and you go, wow, from the guy sharing an apartment with three other dudes and trying to get it together to, you know, 160 million, 400 transactions. It's pretty impressive, bro.
Thanks, Alec. And shout out to Crystal Lauber. That's my processor.
There it is.
She's a rock star. Got to give her a plug.
Any final words, Justin, for originators facing this market right now? Because it can feel pretty daunting. It can feel pretty intimidating. Maybe they haven't gone through a crisis before, a down cycle. So to them, it's I don't know what this is, all new territory. What do I do? Any words for those originators out there?
Yeah, great guy that works with me, Kevin. I told him, Kev, this is a brutal market. It's going to be tough. I go, but this is an amazing opportunity. When I got into the industry and then 2007, 2008 happened, no one wanted to talk to you about mortgages, right? You like, what are you talking about? My husband just got laid off. My neighbor's getting foreclosed on. What do you mean mortgage? What are you talking about? In the housing market, at least now, it's very difficult. But you know what? I've never had an easier time building my database. Yep. Everyone, if they could, would love to buy a house, talk mortgages. Anyone who just got a mortgage is going to want to refinance, right? So the people you're putting in your CRM, if you treat them with extra respect and kindness and stay in front of them and give them the time of day, even if you don't think they're going to get a house in the next 6 months, those are going to be buyers. And anybody who does get a house is probably going to refinance in the next 12 to 24 months. Who knows, right? I tell my clients, plan to have this mortgage forever, but you very likely could be refinancing soon. So in that regard, look at it as an opportunity, because housing is sexy right now. Everyone wants to talk about it, and it's they want to get in, but they can't. But the good news is they want to talk to you about mortgages. They didn't want to talk to me about mortgages in 2008, right?
Dude, find the silver lining. Hold on to the perspective. Justin, thank you, bro, for your time. All you listeners out there, appreciate you hanging with the Modeling Podcast. We'll be back soon with another great guest. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you on the internet.